Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a bit since I've created any content, but life has been going on, and so just kind of recalibrate for the summer as I got my kids, family, all that stuff going on. But wanted to share my thoughts on the Rogue Prince of Persia, which released fully in early access on the 27th. And as you know, I did do a video on it a little bit before it came out, just kind of get a little bit of early access just to check it out. It was more like an early impressions video of what the game was about and some of the things that was going to be involved within it. And so now that I've played more of the game, I have a little bit more in-depth thoughts. So I have some notes here that I want to kind of go through just to kind of give you my impressions and my thoughts of this game. But I want to know, before I even kick off this video, I want to know how you've been experiencing this game for yourself. So let's jump into it. So yeah, there's some good things and some bad things that I enjoyed about this game thus far. But I want to say that the developers at Evil Empire know they are aware of some issues and they are working on it in the background, but I do have some things to say about it. So let's start off on a high note. Let's talk about some of the good things I like. So the art style is incredible. I think this is a great looking game. I remember looking at the opening cutscene, jumping right into the combat, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a really smooth transition from one thing to the next. So I thought it was great. And I wonder if this game would ever get its own animated series. I think that would be really cool to see. I think that would be a really fun idea to have this version of Prince of Persia be its own animated series or some sort of anime. I don't know. It probably won't happen, but it'd probably be a good idea to have something like that. But it would be really great. I think the designs of the characters are simple but elegant in the designs. I love the scarf of the prince that you're playing as. I love just the large flowing scarf. I don't know why the skin color is purple or blue or whatever color you might have. I'm kind of colorblind, so I don't know. I mean, it's purple, but whatever it is, so it doesn't really matter as much. I don't know why they chose this skin color to reflect what the prince was doing, but in any case, I have no idea, but it doesn't really matter as much to me. But I do think the character design is pretty cool, like the ideas of the Huns and have their own distinct personalities and combat designs. Love the bosses. I don't think it'll show up in this footage, but maybe you'll see one of them by the end of this video. But I like the boss designs as well, and I love the animations. One of my favorite animations is the teleporting between the wells of dreams. Basically your fast travel points that you'll be getting through each biome. So I really enjoyed that aspect of you go from one to the next and he kind of like does a flip or a jump from one place to the next. So also a really good idea to be able to do that, just to go from one well of dreams to the next, kind of like a checkpoint system, because there is an in-game shop that you can go to as you collect gold throughout each one of your runs. And so you want to be able to go back and get items or medallions or weapons or anything like that. And so I'll talk about that in just a minute here. So I thought the moving and combat animations and the animations between teleporting between wells of dreams, I thought was really good. So I enjoyed that as well. And speaking of the movement in this game is fantastic. I talked about this in my early impressions video, and it's more like schmovement. I don't know. I think that's more of a term used in games like these. I know they talk about it a lot in the Lucid Discord, and there's schmovement in Lucid if you haven't seen already, and more on Lucid whenever the time comes. You're gonna see more Lucid on this channel. But anyway, I'm diverging from the point of this particular game. But schmovement is a thing because once you get running and cooking, once you get moving around, going from wall and up and down and all over the place, it feels really good. It feels really smooth to be able to just run up from one wall to the next, into wall run into an enemy and jump over them, vault over them, flip over them, and do all kinds of fun things therein with the movement. So you can kind of just zip and zoom through every single one of these biomes. So I thought that was a really good idea to be able to make the movement a priority, because I think Prince of Persia is more about movement. I mean, like I said in my early video, I haven't played a lot of Prince of Persia games recently, and I remembered after recording that video that I played Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, which has also some good movement in that. So I think Prince of Persia is kind of known for the goodness of movement, being able to wall run and vault over enemies. So I love that they were able to keep that in and really have that flavor of the Prince of Persia style by giving you this freedom of exploration and movement. And there are challenge rooms that you get in these particular in your runs that will focus on primarily just movement. So it basically forces you to get a handle on all of the movement and forces you to be like, hey, can you wall run and jump while avoiding spikes at the same time? So can you do that? I don't know. Figure it out, or you're gonna die and you're gonna have to restart your run. So in any case, I love the movement in it. It's so cool to just run up and down, and I can see a lot of cool speed running tech that that people have probably figured out. I'm not a speed runner. I'm not really super involved in that community, but I can kind of see some elements of what people who do speed running for a living could probably jump into this game. And combat pairs well with the movement of this game. It's good to just have one weapon and one tool to be able to use as you run, because it makes the flow of combat a lot easier to go through. So you have your one weapon on X and then your tool on RB, which is essentially like a ranged weapon, like a crossbow or a grappling hook or a special weapon that you get from one of the bosses later on. So that's really cool to be able to have that and have that freedom of exploration, not freedom of exploration, but more like just simplicity in the combat, and also just vaulting over enemies and confusing them and getting enemy placements where they are. I love the kick. I think the kick is probably one of the best tools that you have in this game. One of my favorite moves, that you be able to kick enemies into each other to be able to daze them, to be able to kick one enemy into a shielded enemy to take out their shield, to kick one enemy into a spike trap or a blade or something like that to be able to kill them easily. So it really, the flow of combat is really improved when you have something like the kick in all of the weapons. So and each weapon has its own strengths and weaknesses. My favorite right now is it's a blade called, it's called the Falcata. I'm probably messing it up, but essentially what it is that it stacks critical hits the more you hit an enemy. And so you'll see a little number pop up, and I think it stacks up to 30. And so the more you hit enemies with that particular blade, the stronger your attacks will get. So I think that's a really good idea. And so what I really like also is the medallion system. So you probably saw that a little bit ago. So you'll get these medallions. You'll be able to get 4 of them in total, which have different effects. So one of my favorites, some of my favorites, are things that allow you to spawn clouds of poison, that obviously poison damage, that do damage over time with enemies. And also this thing called resin, which is essentially like a sticky like tar that you put down that slows enemy movements. And so they're triggered by any different types of effects. Maybe it's a kick, maybe it's by hitting enemies from behind, maybe it's by shooting them from far away, or maybe it's you getting hit. It's like a counter. I think it's called like a toxic counter, which gives you the ability to spawn poison when you get hit. So I think that's a very useful idea. And what's really cool is as you get medallions, you can place them in the various slots, and the slots that you see will get upgraded as you slot them in. So as you're seeing, I'm trying to slot in a particular medallion right now. So I thought that was a really cool idea. So good amount of weapons, good amount of weapon variety and tools to be able to keep your runs fresh. And what I also enjoyed is just one quality of life thing that they put in is that you can actually pick up from a run that you're on. So what I found out is that I think I had somewhere I needed to be and I was in the middle of a run. So I quit out of the game, but then it gave me the option to resume my previous run from where I was. So I thought that was a really good idea. I don't even know if Hades does that. I can't remember at this point. I've been kind of swapping between the two just to kind of just, you know, just play more of the game so I could talk about it, and also just play more of Hades 2 because I love that game. It's probably going to be one of my favorite games this year. I mean, Tire's time to be sub, but it's up there. I mean, it's honestly up there, but I thought that was a good quality of life improvement. But in any case, there are some things that I think could be improved, and at the time of this recording, they are working at it, as I said at the beginning of this video. So some of the things that I didn't really like as much is the performance. The performance, I think people have said is a big issue. So you may see it in this recording, and I talked about it in my impressions video, is that there have been some big frame rate dips that happen. And I was wondering at the time, was that my computer? But I also looked at footage of other people who are playing this game that have better gear than I do, and I'm like, oh, they're having the same issues as I am. Like, especially when you die or when you're transferring from one biome to the next, the frame rate just seems to dip beyond belief. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not the only person experiencing this problem. So that, I thought that was really interesting. But there have been some improvement. There have been some improvements in the frame rate and in some of the performance of this game. So the devs are working on it. They are aware. There's also some bugs in save files. I didn't experience any of that myself, but I know people have. But again, they're putting out patches for this game, so they know, their community is letting them know, and the devs are responding in kind. So that's really good. So, I mean, they even put out a patch, I think like 3 days after the game release, so I thought that was really good. But some other things that may be getting worked on, but I'm not sure. So no ability to change weapon or tool loadout at the start of each run. So when you die and you go back to the Oasis, you start back off with the bow and the 2 daggers. So I think it would be a really good idea to be able to switch between each weapon and tool as you collect them. So there's no ability, at least as of right now, and maybe where I'm at, I just haven't unlocked it yet. And if I'm wrong, please somebody in the comments correct me. But I feel like in the time that I played, I haven't been able to switch any of my weapons or tools going back from run. I think it would be good to be able to use an axe or a grappling hook at the start of my run, or use the weapon I talked about, the falcata, or that blade. There are other swords like that, or there's other tools to be able to use at the start of my run. So I feel like I shouldn't have to wait until I get to the start of a run to be able to choose my weapons. So I feel like I should be able to choose it on my next run at the Oasis when I'm at a safe place. Another thing that I feel like I need to do, feel like I wish I could have, but is also in the works right now, is some sort of meta progression within the Oasis, kind of like how Hades does, where you have the Arcana cards that has various stat bonuses throughout your runs. So like I said, at the time of this recording, there is a test branch out for the game right now, and there are various things that you need to do to be able to get into that test branch. I haven't done it yet myself, but let me know if you have. But in that test branch, there is a skill tree that has some sort of meta progression within the Oasis. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully that works out. The devs have said that's really cool. And again, if you've tested that yourself, and I may test that probably after this recording or at a later date, just to see what that is like. So that's good. That's good to know, because that was one of my big things. I was like, man, I wish I could have something I could do besides just unlocking more weapons out in the field, and also more medallions with the glimmer that I'm able to get. So yeah, so that's getting worked on. So again, that's a dislike that I have, but it's being worked on. So it's kind of a moot point right now. But also a thing that maybe I think they should work on as well is that the enemy placement felt a little bit congested at times. I don't know if you're playing the game and if you felt this way, but I felt like that when I was on a run, I would typically be running around for like maybe a minute or so until I would run into a batch of enemies, maybe 4 or 5 of them on one ledge, and then I would run around again and not find any more enemies. Now I know that there are a lot of traps involved in this game, and so you may see more traps than enemies at times, but I felt like some of the enemies were maybe just like too close together, so maybe spread them out a little bit more. So maybe that's some of the things that they are working on in the background. So I don't know. It would make for an early death for me, and I'm trying to get better, trying to get good at the game, but I just felt like enemies felt a little bit too congested. They were all like kind of clumped up in one area, at least in certain biomes I was in, or at a run at a certain point. So I would hope that they maybe space out or vary the enemy placement throughout the run. So, but I think that's probably like the bulk of my gripes. But overall, I have been enjoying this game so much. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been swapping between this one and Hades 2, and it's been fun. So the contrast is evident. I've been seeing, like, you know, Hades 2 was already at a very high level, but the Rogue Prince of Persia is like, you know, it's below it, and they have work to do. But I will say, let Evil Empire cook. Ubisoft, give them more money, give them more funding so they can make this game a lot better, because I can see a lot of potential with this game. I think this is going to be a really fun game that people are going to enjoy. It's $20 right now, and they said that 1.0 is probably going to come out within a year. I think that this is probably going to be a good deal. If you're interested in anything that Evil Empire has put out, if you have enjoyed these devs, if you like the devs, if you like the Prince of Persia franchise as a whole, I think this is well worth your time and money, because $20 is not that much, and it's probably going to go up in price once they go full 1.0. So, but if you want to follow the progression and want to follow everything that they got going on, I would say jump in on this game right now, get your hands on it, and definitely give it a play. And if you want to know more, I'm going to drop a link to the Steam page in the description of this video, so be sure and click that, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more content, more indie game related things. Even though this isn't really an indie game, it's made by an indie game developer and published by a AAA publisher, but I thought this was a good game to play. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let me know if you've been playing it, as well as whether there's anything else. I'd love to have a discussion about this game in the comments. And like I said, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Chike, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.